Let's draw a cockatiel using just the pencils from the Procreate app. If you've seen the thumbnail, this is an arching cockatiel, and I've got the tilted angle of the neck, and now going for the eye here. So this is the Narendra pencil which I'm using in Procreate. The nostrils of cockatiel is like an inverted V, or more like a diamond shape. Since the second nostril is away from our view, I'm giving it an inverted V shape. Now drawing the beak. So the beak is more curved like a parrot for a cockatiel. I think the beak is too slanted, but we can fix that later. Now demarcating the head and the chest area. So I'm trying to reposition the eye here. So whenever I draw anything, I try to get the position of the eye first before moving on to the other details of the subject. So in Procreate, I mostly use the 6B, the Narendra pencil for sketching. And the eye, which I did now, is with the Studio pen. I'm switching now to 6B pencil for a more softer look. If you've seen the pencils, there are two notations, H and B. H stands for hard and B is for body. I think bold, which means it has a more softer look. So mostly on paper, if you want to draw an outline, you can go for the hard. And then when you want to go in heavy on the details, you can switch to the 6B, 4B or 2B pencil according to your preference. So this is the positive thing in iPad where we can, adjust the angles by using the transform button, which is not possible on paper. Now going for the wing here, and the belly. So in the beginning, I was strictly a paper girl. I was very scared to draw on iPad or tablet. It isn't so bad when you really try it. So I'm going for the legs. The legs are slanted here because of the arching position of the bird. So it's just really a very rough outline. When you draw the first or the second draft, the outline should be very light. Otherwise, it can be really distracting. And on paper, you can see the impression marks even after you have erased. So it won't look good. Now, giving our bird a prop, just a small regular perch, and finally the tail. Now, moving on to the mohawk. When you draw the mohawk of a cockatiel, you should ensure that it's not pointing in all directions. There are some hairs which stand vertical, some towards the right and the left, kind of like a rigid fountain. Doesn't totally go all the way down like a C, but at an angle. Yeah. So when you draw hair, make sure that it follows the angle of the feature or the expression of the subject. It should not be pointed in all one direction. For me personally, I do not like to draw hair or feathers. So I just try to create the illusion of hair. That's possible by drawing hair at some places and smudging uh, the rest of the places. This gives the illusion of a hairy subject. In this case, a feathered bird. So when you move towards the cheek, the hair kind of curves more. I think it was in a Skillshare class of Brent Eviston's where he said that drawing is 70% observation and 30% drawing. So whenever you draw, make sure that you pause, observe, reflect, and then come back after a break. Because our eyes tend to play tricks and we see the subject in a particular way which may look right, but you come after 1 or 2 hours and it looks totally different. So that is a thing that I'm trying very hard because I like to do things in one go, but with a lot of practice and patience, it's possible. Now, since the subject is inclining, we're assuming the light to come from the left. That means the area beside the beak on the right side will be a bit darker because of the shadow. You can also give a little bit of a darker shadow at the tip of the beak. I'm going darker here because I'm envisioning this to be a yellow and a red cocktail. So the area around the eye has a red spot. Now drawing the rest of the face. But this is one of my pet peeves. I cannot draw every hair or every feather of any subject. So I just try to smudge and alternate as much as I can. And I really am in awe of the artists whom I see in social media, where they try to get every feature right, especially the hair or the skin cell, the hyperrealism. That is really a totally a different ball game, and it's really admirable that they're able to get so much patience. So if you see the portion beside the beak on the right side is a bit dark because of the shadow. It's really just these small details which will make your drawing stand out. You have to give importance to the outline and the values before going in on the little details. I'm just trying to give a darker shadow effect on the right side of the bird's head. When you pay attention to light and values like this, it makes your subject stand out, as I said before. Now, the reason why I'm smudging the beak is because the bird's beak is always a bit stained or greased in places. But here I'm going really heavy with the smudging, and I'm keeping the center portion of the beak white as it is so that it gives a 3D effect. So generally I draw very slow, and this is a sped up video. I think the beak looks good enough. If you see the very dark portion beside the beak, that's just indicating the other red spot on the cheek there. Just fine tuning the head before we move on to the other portion. Cleaning up the nostrils. Now, whenever light reflects off a circular object, the reflection will be in a semicircle shape. So you'll see me doing that next. Now drawing the upper and the lower eyelid. When you draw any eye, uh, not the detailed version, the rough version, always remember we need to draw a shadow, sorry, the reflected light and a highlight. So this would be the reflected light, which is a slightly grayer color, slightly lighter color, sorry, and this would be the highlight. Kind of looks like a real eye. So I'm making the hair on top of the head more curved just to give the illusion of a round head. Now moving to the wing. Here I'm just going to roughly uh, size up the feathers. Whenever you're doing a practice drawing or a rough drawing, you don't need to go in heavy on the details. Otherwise, you'd really be mentally exhausted when you do the piece which matters the most. So for practice drawings, just ensure that you get the outlines, the proportions, and the expression and the message right, rather than the minute details such as hair, feathers, and such. So here you will see me smudge a lot and draw only in few sections of the wing. So in the end, you will see that it has a glossy effect. So that is one of the tricks that I use. I'm going in dark on the belly here because of the projection of the belly. It's creating a sort of shadow underneath. So trying to get that. This is really a rough drawing, so I'm not going very heavy on the chest area. I'm just trying to draw very light lines by adjusting the opacity to the lowest. Now moving on to the underbelly. I just still think the legs are a bit weird, but we'll fix it later. Once the head and the eyes are done, then we can move on to the other portions very slowly. Yeah, so I'm doing the smudging and drawing at places. So you're going to see that glossy effect in a few minutes now. Can you see? So you can try this and see. It's just a little tip. Now drawing the underbelly. I just felt that the underbelly portion was a bit dark, so I smudged it a bit. So whenever you're drawing, you just take a moment to pause and look at the drawing, and you can correct it accordingly. So I'm just rubbing off the weird speck there, smudging it in places to give a more glossier look. Yeah, now going on to the legs and the tail. This is a very rough drawing. I'm just trying to block the portion of the tail. I've made it really dark because it is behind the subject, and assuming the shadow to be heavy on the tail area, I'm drawing it a bit dark. Because of the body blocking the path of light towards the tail. These are all simple physics that you have to understand when drawing a subject, because when you incorporate the values and the play of light and color, then the subject that you're trying to draw will come to life even more. Now, drawing the ridges on the legs. So if you've noticed a bird's legs, it will mostly be a dirty gray or a dirty pink color. Since this is a black and white drawing, just know that as a tip. So I have separated the area of the leg and the underbelly there. I still feel the tail is a bit dark, and I'll correct that later. I'm trying to smudge it here. I think it's still dark. We should fix that later. Most of my practice drawings I do at nights. So that is one of the reason why I just skip the revisions or the corrections towards the end. Now I'm going for the porch. Sorry, the perch. Just roughly smudging here and there. So this is my first video where I'm, doing a voiceover, and it's really been a surreal experience. But we have to face our fear and, uh, you know, is the way forward, because the way forward is always tough, and it is rewarding in a way where we can discover ourselves, our strengths and weaknesses. So what you're seeing here is a Procreate time-lapse video of the entire procedure, of the process. And what I've done is made the bird a bit leaner and the tail a bit lighter by adding streaks of white. So if you've hesitated to draw birds and animals until now, do give it a try and overcome your fears and your hesitations this coming new year. Thank you for watching and have a great new year 2025. Until the next video, thank you and God bless.